Breathe out. Just think out. And on the next breath, we're going to breathe in for 4 counts. And then we're going to hold it for 4 counts. And we're going to breathe out for 6 counts. And I'll help you out. In, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Take a couple more regular breaths. And when you're ready, open your eyes as we welcome Shabbat. We begin on the bottom of page 21. To light candles in all the worlds, that is Shabbat.
To light the Shabbat candles is the soul of the present candles and
Lighting the candles transforms my room into a river of light. My heart sets in an emerald waterfall. We continue on page 24.
page 27. And I have a message from Rabbi Pollack. I spoke to her yesterday. She's feeling much better and wasn't able to be here with us tonight, but sends regards and greetings to us. The meaning of Shabbat is to celebrate time rather than space. 6 days a week we live under the tyranny of things of space. On Shabbat we try to become attuned to holiness in time. It's a day on which we are called upon to share in what is eternal in time, to turn from the results of creation to the mystery of creation, from the world of creation to the creation of the world. And we continue welcoming Shabbat with Lefad Ordi on page 29. Could I ask you to read us on page 34, How Can I Sing, responsively?
How can I sing day and night when does God inform them?
How can I sing of heaven and earth when it is God who has created them?
How can I sing of mountains and hills when it is God who planted them?
How can I sing of seas and earth when it is God who brought them?
And how can I sing of earth and its fullness when it is God who bade them be?
I shall sing to God who fashioned all, and is beyond all. It is to God I shall sing.
We continue on page 36 with Baruch. Carol Copeland, could I ask you to read us Aleph on page 37? Aleph on page 37. 37?
Can't hear you.
Oh, page 37, Aleph. Page 37, Aleph.
Your plan is the force of stars in the sky, creating day and night, turning light into darkness, and darkness into light.
You make the day fade away and bring on the night, separating day and night. The rule of hosts of heaven.
We praise you, eternal one, who brings on the evening twilight.
We continue on page 38.
We continue on page 40 as we rise for the Shema.
Friend Kay, would you read us responsibly the tapestry of our Jewish heritage on page 47? Thomas.
Tapestry. The strand of a piece of cloth is in the threads of which the whole is woven.
The tapestry of our Jewish heritage is patterned in threads of many colors, from bright gold to somber black.
With its colors echoing the nets of the time. This tapestry was begun many thousands of years ago. Its weaving will continue for many thousands of years to come.
The first strands stood through the fingers of Sarah, Rebecca, Leah, and Rachel. Their thread was strong, their colors were brilliant.
The pattern grew, the length increased, and the stories of our heroes and heroes, the deeds and lives, were woven into a cloth of beauty and lasting strength.
We continue on page 49 with the Chetzi Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Yalmad yivrak irutei v'yamlik malchi irutei.
I'm going to start with Adonai Svataitiv Tach on page 50. I'm going to sing it 4 times, and hopefully by the end of the 4th time, you'll be ready to join us for the Amidah.
Adonai,
Larry Kenner, could I ask you to read page 55, Gimel, in the middle of the page. Where has this week vanished? Sorry, did you hear me? Page 55, where has this week vanished?
Where
Gimel.
has this week vanished? Is it lost forever? Will I ever recover anything from it? The joy of life, the unexpected victory, the realized hope, the past above it?
Will I ever be able to banish the memory of pain, the sting of defeat, the heaviness of boredom?
On this day let me keep for a while what must drift away. On this day let me be free of the burdens that must return. On this day Shabbat Shabbat.
And now Shabbat has come. Can it help me to withdraw for a while from the fight of time?
Can it contain the retreat of the hours and days from the grasp of frantic life? And all days abandon me, Shabbat Shabbat.
Let
Let me learn to pause, if only for this day. Let me find peace on this day. Let me enter a quiet hour this day. On this day, Shabbat Shabbat.
We continue on page 57. We continue at the bottom of page 59.
Shabbat
pause for a few moments of silent reflection. We continue on page 66.
At our Shabbat service tomorrow morning, we'll be reading from Parashah Bahá in Deuteronomy, which deals with the Sabbath of the Lord. In his commentary on this parashah, Rabbi Plaut made three important observations. He stated the chapter conveys social idealism and humanitarian concern. Its observance has presented some complex challenges throughout history, but its message nevertheless remains especially relevant to our times. Before we explore these observations and messages, let's take a quick look at what the parashah covers. In the first 5 verses, the Lord spoke to Moses at Sinai and told him that when the Israelite people enter the promised land, they shall observe a Sabbath of the Lord. The 7th year, or sabbatical, is called the Shemitah, from the Hebrew verb meaning to abandon or leave alone. What were some of the requirements prescribed in the Torah for observing the sabbatical year? First, no seed should be planted, and this would, of course, have some practical benefit in preventing exhaustion of the soil. Second, crops could not be harvested by the farmer. He must leave them for the poor. Verses 6 and 7 of the chapter, though forbidding the farmer to gather this yield for his exclusive use, permits him to share it with others. So in the sabbatical year, the landowner and the landless pauper are to be on an equal footing. In Deuteronomy, the Torah portion dealing with the Shemitah provides for cancellation of all outstanding debts. So in effect, we are looking here at some form of wealth redistribution. So if we go back to Rabbi Plaut's first point, these are some examples of idealism and humanitarian concern. In effect, the Torah explains that the Shemitah year is to be a rest period, a Sabbath for the Lord, a Sabbath for the land, and a Sabbath for the people who work on it. Observance required a leap of faith that either the harvest of the 6th year would be sufficiently large to provide for the 7th year, or that it would at least provide sufficient nourishment to sustain the farmer through the sabbatical year, And this brings me to Rabbi Plaut's point on some historical issues. What might the historical issues have been? There's been some debate as to how extensively the sabbatical has been observed in Israel and how the people, through the ages, have managed its constraints. It is cited as an example of where there's been some flexibility on the part of the rabbi's interpretation. For example, if you were a farmer, but you lived in a regime and you had to pay taxes, what might happen? Or what might happen if you needed a loan and the Shemitah was coming up in a few months? Do you think anyone would lend you the money? The law of the sabbatical year was so constraining that Hillel, the leading scholar of the first century, before the Common Era, issued a ruling that became known by its Greek name, prosbul. As some of you might know, a prosbul was a rabbinical enactment that circumvented the biblical law using a device or declaration made in court at the time of the execution of the loan, which then allowed the courts, rather than the lender, to collect the debt. The rabbis justified this change in biblical law by explaining it was done to improve the human condition. It both protected the wealthy against monetary loss and helped the poor by enabling them to secure loans. And this brings me to Rabbi Plaut's third point, that if there had been questions over time in the observance of the sabbatical year, then what is the relevance of it to us? Just as the ancient farmers and rabbis have struggled with the feasibility and practicality of this commandment over history, so most of us struggle with observing or taking a sabbatical. However, this should not detract from applying some of the principles to our daily lives. For example, it shouldn't detract from our need to use natural resources with care and wisdom so that they don't become exhausted and used up. It shouldn't detract from our recognition of the need for forms of wealth redistribution, be it in the form of our individual acts of tzedakah or by our support of enlightened taxation systems. And it shouldn't detract from our ability to seek time out from our routine activities for spiritual renewal. In times when everything else changes at an increasingly rapid pace, it's important that we carve out the time in our lives for a change in pace, for reflection and study. I think it also has been particularly relevant to us as we've had to cope with the COVID lockdowns. And as hard as COVID has been and the lockdowns have been for many of us, when we interviewed Solel who participated in our focus groups, they also commented on some of the positives they had experienced, including time for reflection, time for renewal, and perhaps more quality time, albeit remotely, with family. With the implementation of the SERB payments, we also experienced some precedent-breaking approaches to wealth distribution and caring for those who could not earn income to survive. For me, these are some of the messages of today's parashah. I know there are many more.
During this time, we are counting the days of the Omer. Behold, I am prepared and ready to perform the mitzvah of counting the Omer, as it is written in your Torah. You are to count from the end of the rest day, from the day you brought the waved Omer offering. They shall be 7 complete weeks. Until the end of the 7th week, you shall count 50 days. If you would join me, the end of the blessing is Al Sfirat HaOmer. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al Sfirat HaOmer. Hayom Shmuna v'esrim yom, shehem arba'a shavuot la'omer. Today is 28 days, which are 4 weeks of the Omer.
And we now turn to the Mishaberach on page 133. And as we remember, as we start the Mishaberach, we think about members of our community
Shirley Herman, Hester Wochenmarkt, Rick Valentine, Simon Green, Marlene Friedman, Linda Levenek, Jack Pudlatz, Francis Frontine, Suzanne Sher-Simpson, Bernie McLennan, Harriet Lemon, Jill Rich, Ellen Becker, Mr. Nicola Peretti, Eliyahu Ben Yitzhak Fasara, Rebecca Bardwell, Parker Saiko, Philip Shepard, Carl Katz, Nicole Hansen, Raina Rowan, Gilam Nuruzi, Madeline Kitson, Kathy Kitson, Sharon Burr, Dee Hickey, Lorraine DaCosta, Jack Richmond, Nitty Sandalevici, Adela Zer, Al Lofsky, Michael Freeman, Ann Steinbeck, Owen Milgram, Evelyn Tyndall, Amanda Schenk, Shaista Durrani, Rav Alana Miriam Bat-Chava, Daniel Black, and Jean Elizabeth Pitt. And please, if you're remembering anyone else, please feel free to say their names or name them in your heart. And we also wish those who have been suffering from COVID a full and speedy recovery, and may you all soon test negative.
We continue on page 149 with the Aleinu. Aleinu v'shabeach l'haton hakol, l'teit g'dolai l'seh reishit, asher samchateinu yafeh shemo, v'glor aleinu l'hamich malchuto, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtacharim u'modim, l'ifnei melech, malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shemot hashamayim v'yoseh haaretz, Moshe v'karol hashamayim We continue together at the middle of page 152, the eye that blinks. Please read responsively. Human beings do not live forever. We live less than the time it takes to blink an eye if we measure our eyes against eternity. So it may be asked, what value is there to a human life? There is so much pain in the world. What does it mean to have to suffer so much if our lives are nothing more than the blink of an eye?
I
Learned a long time ago that the blink of the eye itself is nothing, but the eye that blinks, that is something. The span of life is nothing, but the person who lives that span is something. You can fill that time span with meaning, so its quality is immeasurable, its quantity may be insignificant. Fullness also of life, with meaning. Meaning is not automatically given to life. And we remember the recent death of Laura Yavlo, niece of Judith Tamari. And we have the following yahrzeits for tonight. Hugh Schwarzenberg, cousin of Leo Fontaine. Clara Fontaine, mother of Leo, grandmother of Lisa, Michael, and Rachel. Eliyahu Hamadani, father of Judith Tamari. Herman Gordon, father of David, grandfather of Malcolm and Liam. Irvin Briggs, father of Susan, grandfather of Tyler. Rose Binsky, grandmother of Leah and Miranda. Gunther Solomon, husband of Nora, father of Sergio. Samuel Copeland, father of Jeff and father-in-law of Carol. Yaakov Wiersber, father-in-law of Lila and father of the late Mike and Sam. Tim Weber, brother of Jocelyn. Maurice Edelman, father of Neil, grandfather of Jenna and Alana. Rhoda Moldovsky, sister of Josie Emma Emond. Bella Forgax, father of Judy Miller. And Alfred Ishak Passenheim, father-in-law of Ruth, grandfather of Mark, Naomi, and David. Please stand if you're observing yahrzeit from this list. And if anyone else is observing yahrzeit this week, we'd like to state your, please, if you'd like to state your relative's name, please say their names as I look in your direction. Yit Kadal, Yit Kadash, Shemei Rabbah, Yalmad, Yivra Kirte, Yom Michmal Kute, L'chayechon, Yomechon, L'chayet Kol Beit Yisrael, Ba'atala Zman Karev, B'Nuroim, Yehi Shmei Rabbah, V'Rach Le'olam L'Omer Maya, Yitbarach V'Yishtabach, Yita'ar, Yitromam, Yitnaseh, Yitadar, Yitalel, Yitalal, Shmei Kudisha Berechu, Le'elam Yinkom Yitfata Shirata, Tushvachata V'Nechemata, Damir Yom B'Nuroim, Yehi Shma Rabbah Mishemaya, V'Chayim Aleim Yom Yisrael, B'Nuroim, Oseh Shalom Imam, Hu Yaseh Shalom, V'Aleim Yom Yisrael, Yom Kol B'nei Adam, Amen. And let's read the announcements.
Shabbat Shalom. We have lots of fun stuff coming up this week. Well, actually for the rest of the month. Beit Sefer, you still have to come to school tomorrow. Just kidding. Just making sure you're paying attention at home. No Beit Sefer tomorrow. We're done. We do have our regular service next Friday, though, on May 27th. And I lied, it is not a regular service, of course, it is the board installation. So please come and join us. And on May 28th, we have a regular Shabbat service at 10. On May 27th, actually I already said that one. Skip that. On June 4th, though, at 8 p.m., we have our Tikkun Leil Shavuot service and program. Lots of fun happening there. It begins at 8 p.m., like I said, and we will be having a festival with prayers and songs and we will be viewing Women in a Sink. So that is a nice short documentary filmed at a small hair salon in Haifa. So that'll be very, very interesting. We are also continuing to accept donations for Ukraine. You can do that through the WPJ. You can also donate through UJA Toronto if you would like to look into that. We can send you more information if you contact the office. And Rabbi Pollock's Sunday Adult Text Study is continuing online right through until May 29th, 10:30 a.m. And the Thursday lunches with Rabbi Pollock are also, I believe, continuing. I'm sure if any of that changes, she will definitely send you out a notice, but I believe she's on the mend, so fingers crossed.
Thanks very much, Emma. And now it's my pleasure to invite Jeff Copeland to lead us in the invocation.
Please rise. Vayera vayiboker yom hashishi, vayechulu hashemayim v'yaretz b'chol tzeba'am, vayechal Elohim et yom hashvi'i melachto asher asa, vayivarech et yom hashvi'i kol melachto asher asa, vayivarech Elohim et yom hashvi'i v'yikadesh oto, ki bo Shabbat b'kol melachto asher bara. Elohim la'asot together. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei b'ri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher tishanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavahu, v'shabar kodsho be'ahava u'ratzon, nimchilanu, zikaron
Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and I hope you will join us in the social hall for the Oneg.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you.